Hi, Carolyn, for Here's What Happened in Carolyn Talks podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today to speak about the show. I really enjoyed it. But there's one scene that really stuck out to me. That's the scene in episode 6 at the end, where Martha's telling Franklin, like, she's like, I married you and I have always believed you're a man of courage and integrity. And there's so much context and so many layers and nuance to that one particular line of dialogue. And because she says as she's hugging him, but you can tell it's a sort of admonishment at the same time. So for you and for playing Franklin in that moment, what does that scene and those lines in particular mean for Franklin coming from his wife, especially with the context of everything that's happening around him?
That's why the piece is so beautiful, because out of context, it means, it's an admonishment. It's a devastating comment. But within the context of what's going on, there's so many things that I can't tell her about what's going on. That once she does find out, the repercussions and the ripple effects of that. But we all know he's not a defense attorney, and life is happening and he's by himself. He and his second, Miss Emily's character it's she and I. And we're trying to figure out the nature of our relationship and trust each other. And so and the police are disrupting, and and my health issues, and so there's so many things that make this so like life, that things aren't the way we think that they should be on One Adam 12 and all these shows where life is wrapped up in an episode. Life ain't wrapped up in an episode. Oftentimes it ain't wrapped up at all. And, so things are muddy and shades of gray, and there's lies told, but there are white lies or beige lies and gray lies. And there's not just black lies and white lies. There's all different gradations within those two primary colors. So, he's in the midst of doing something that he doesn't have any help with, but he's got to do it, and his health is failing. And so what do you do when you've got as we talked about earlier, the best and the worst qualities of him? He's a dog with a bone, but sometimes you've got to pivot from that you got to go lateral, and sometimes takes 2 steps back in order to go forward. And he's trying to figure it all out. And that's, I think, what, Peter Moffat does better than just about anybody else, is make us, the tension is so high. And we just, we don't see a way out for them, for Moses, it's not just Moses now, it's my family's at stake, and the city is at stake, and the police are trying to say that, so there's so much going on that I just go, in the context of that, it's absolutely devastating statement that she makes, but I cannot let the context of that deter me from what I know we have to do. And in that, just like life is sometimes lonely. Sometimes it's just you and your God. And you've got to make a decision that that's enough, or for you to keep going, or that's enough and you got to stop. And that's a decision that all of us have to make. And hopefully we get to the end of our rope and not the end of our hope.
Something that I think is really profound about the show is that it shows a family whose son, David, played by Jerome Maximilian Sullivan, is on the spectrum. And we know in North American productions, we don't get to see Black families and Black children on the spectrum portrayed, as they are, just as people and just as a family who knows how to live with this, with children who are on the spectrum, and a community that understands children on the spectrum and understands how their families work. So I think it's very profound that we have this in a show like this, and we have a character, a family like Martha and Franklin, who know their son and they understand their son and they fully accept him, but they're still learning about their son, right? They're still learning as parents what it means to have a son on the spectrum. So can you speak to that a bit about just playing it, being a part of this family and having this area of representation for Black people on screen?
It was a blessing. It really was a blessing. And I have to say that his real life family, Jamal's real life family, his mother and father, have to be the family of the year. They've got two other young people, and Jamal, and he is as much a part of the family. They talk to him about everything. He and his mother were on the set, or his father were on the set all the time. It was the first time he had done any kind of, professional work. So for him to come in, jump in, and be and we made him a part of everything. But all we did was, just mirror what how his family and interact with him, and he interacts with them. It's so beautiful to see. And it's a testament to the writers, to Peter Moffat, that portion of the story is a part of our story. Someone on the spectrum, prostate cancer. You can layer in the issues that, in my mind, that's good storytelling, where you don't have to hit something over the head. And so I was grateful. There were times when we had to slow things down because, Jamal just had questions, and, you got to talk him through things. Maybe I was thinking he talks all the way through the end of the issue. And you've got to sit there and go, you can't go, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Okay, God, let's go. No, we're going to go all the way through the entire issue because that's what he needs. And if that's what he needs in that moment, everyone just go sit down. Okay, now what did you want to talk about? I wanted to talk about why it is that we're doing. He would, and go into this whole discussion about, what life is and how things work and things. What were you saying? Keep going. Yep. And the directors all knew that, if Jamal had something he wanted to express or talk about, okay, yeah, well, let's talk about it. How do you feel? What would you do in this situation? You wouldn't do that. Okay, well, what would you do? Well, and go into this whole, thing about it. And find, okay, all right, well, let's try that. Okay, Jamal, let's try that. Everybody? Okay, ready? Go. So it was beautiful to see how everyone was, treating him with the respect that he deserved and needed. And we still made our day. With no need to, cut him off and not hear him out. So, because he's part of our family, so it really starts from the top and then comes down to me as number one. And I'm always going to try to respect somebody. If I disrespect somebody, I'm going to apologize. I'm so sorry. And how can I make it better? Next time I can do a better job and, human, blah, blah, blah. But did not mean it, and we'll learn the next time. So, and then I sleep well at night.
Thank you so much for going into that, because I worked with people on the spectrum, with students at the school that I work at on the spectrum, and I know people who are on the spectrum. So it means so much to me to hear how collaborative it was on the set, because that is necessary. Like, people think that people on the spectrum don't understand what's going on, but they have way more understanding of things going on around them than people give them credit for. And I just love that everyone on the set understood and respected and listened to him, because he's able to give his perspectives. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, Ms. Carolyn, for asking.